Have you ever stood in front of the mirror and quietly asked yourself, do I still look like me? Not the version of you that's become a grandmother, or the one who always remembers the grocery list, folds the laundry just right, and patiently stands in line at the pharmacy, but you, the woman who once caught her own reflection in a store window and smiled, knowing exactly who she was. The woman who laughed with her head thrown back, who let her hair dance in the wind, who walked into a room not to impress, but simply because she felt alive. Somewhere along the way, that woman gets tucked behind labels like practical, age, appropriate, low maintenance. Hair gets cut shorter because it's easier. Style choices become sensible. And slowly, almost invisibly, the world stops expecting you to glow. But here's the truth. This is not your quiet fade out. This is your reawakening, because beauty doesn't retire, radiance doesn't expire, and your reflection still holds that spark she's just been waiting for you to see her again. You don't need to look younger. You don't need to chase anyone else's idea of beauty. You simply deserve to feel more like yourself. And sometimes, that journey begins with something as simple and as powerful as a haircut. So today, let's talk about 3 timeless haircuts that don't just flatter your face, they remind the world and remind you that you are still here, still vibrant, still very much you. Let's begin. 1. The soft layered bob, a gentle frame that brightens the face. Elaine was 62 when she walked into my salon on a quiet spring afternoon. A retired school teacher with decades of devotion behind her, she carried herself with grace, but her hair told a different story. Long, heavy, and cut blunt at the ends, it hung past her shoulders like a habit she no longer questioned. She sat down slowly, placed her purse in her lap, and stared at her reflection with an almost apologetic gaze. "I've been thinking about going shorter," she said, her voice steady but unsure. And then, after a pause, "I'm just not sure it's me anymore." I didn't rush. We talked not just about haircuts, but about how light touches the jawline, how softness can bring out the strength in a face, and how sometimes the smallest change can feel like a new beginning. What I suggested was a soft layered bob, a chin length or slightly longer cut, shaped with delicate feathered layers around the face. Not stiff, not structured, but airy, feminine, free. As I lifted the first section of her hair and began to cut, I could see something shift in her shoulders, as if a quiet weight was being lifted, one snip at a time. When the last layer fell, and I turned the chair for her to face the mirror, she smiled not at me, but at herself. A small, knowing smile, like seeing an old friend after too many years apart. That's what the soft layered bob does. It doesn't try to make you look like someone else. It simply lets you look like you, a version of you that feels lighter, softer, and quietly radiant. This style is a gift for women whose hair has become finer with age. The gentle layers around the jawline create a natural lifting effect, not dramatic, but subtly sculpting, especially for those of us who've noticed a softer chin or less definition around the neck. And for thinning hair, feathered layers create beautiful movement and catch the light in all the right ways, adding dimension without bulk. Ask your stylist for invisible layers, near the crown, a clever trick that adds volume exactly where you need it, without showing obvious cuts or lines. What I love most, it's low maintenance, yet looks effortlessly polished. A quick round brush, a light volumizing spray, and 10 minutes is all you need. Or you can let it air dry, scrunch in some light mousse, and let the natural shape unfold, casual, but elevated. But a haircut, no matter how perfect, only shines when it's paired with care. After 60, our hair changes. It may feel drier, more fragile, or less dense. That's not failure. That's simply time speaking softly through our strands. But we can listen with kindness. Choose a sulfate-free shampoo, gentle, low lather, and nourishing. You don't need to wash every day. 2 to 3 times a week is often enough. Follow with a conditioner that focuses on the ends, something with argan oil or shea butter to soften without weighing down. Once a week, Treat yourself to a hair mask, not as a chore, but as a ritual, something done for no one else but you. Let it sit while you sip tea, play your favorite record, or gaze out the window for a moment of stillness. Massage your scalp. Use your fingertips in small, slow circles. Not only does it promote circulation, it reconnects you with your body in the gentlest way. If you like, add a few drops of rosemary oil. Its earthy scent lingers like a quiet reminder of growth. And finally, trade your cotton pillowcase for silk. It reduces friction and keeps your hair from tangling or breaking as you sleep. Small change, big difference. The soft layered bob isn't flashy. It doesn't shout. It whispers, "I'm here. I'm still beautiful. And I'm ready to be seen." And if this style speaks to you, stay with me, because the next one is even bolder. Wait until you see it. 2. The Pixie cut, a quiet kind of freedom. Her name was Margot. She walked into my salon just past noon on a Wednesday that felt like any other except for her. She moved with calm, spoke softly, and yet, there was something quietly resolute in the way she sat in the chair. "I'm ready for something different," she said. "Not because of anyone, but because I think I'm finally ready to begin again." She was 59, recently widowed, and still wearing the same long hair she'd kept for over 3 decades. Her hair wasn't just part of her identity, it was a timeline, a tapestry of memories, each strand stitched to another chapter. But something inside her had shifted. She didn't want to erase the past. She just no longer wanted to carry its full weight on her shoulders. So we talked about lightness, about ease, about how beauty doesn't always come from adding more, sometimes it comes from letting go. We chose a Pixie, but not the edgy, spiked kind from the magazines. This one was soft, feminine. The top left a little longer to allow height and movement, the sides tapered gently to cradle her face. A cut that whispered elegance without asking for permission. And when I removed the cape and turned her to the mirror, Margot gasped, then smiled, then cried. Not because she missed the length, but because she'd found her face again. You see, for many women, a haircut isn't just cosmetic, it's symbolic. It's a way to release what no longer serves us, to say, "I'm not hiding anymore." And the Pixie, it's that kind of haircut. It doesn't try to impress. It simply allows you to show up, unburdened, unapologetic, you. The beauty of the modern Pixie for women over 60 is that it's both bold and tender. You don't have to be rebellious to wear it. In fact, the best Pixie cuts today are incredibly soft with rounded edges, longer crown layers for volume, and side-swept bangs if you'd like to frame your eyes. It's especially wonderful for women with fine or thinning hair. With the right layers, especially invisible layering at the crown, you can create the illusion of fullness without teasing or heavy product. The layers catch the light, adding depth and dimension, even on delicate strands. And let's not ignore comfort. If you live in a warm climate or deal with hot flashes, a short haircut can feel like a breath of fresh air. No more sticky necks. No more heavy ponytails. Just lightness, simplicity, relief, styling. Easier than you think. Some days you might want to air dry and go for a tousled, windswept look. Other days, a dab of lightweight wax or cream, a few finger twists and done. It's flexible, it's expressive, and it always looks intentional, even when it's effortless. Caring for a Pixie, like any short style, still requires love. Use a gentle, sulfate-free shampoo no more than 2-3 times a week. Focus your conditioner only on the ends or the crown to avoid weighing the roots down. A drop of argan oil can add just the right amount of shine and softness, especially if your hair tends to feel dry or brittle. And don't forget your scalp. After 60, the skin there can become dry too. Take a few minutes now, and then to massage your scalp, not just for circulation, but as an act of care. If you like, use a diluted rosemary oil blend. It smells like clarity and calm. At night, switch to a silk pillowcase. Not for vanity, but for preservation. Less friction, less frizz, and a gentler way to rest your hair while you rest your mind. The Pixie isn't about age. It's about alignment. It says, I'm not trying to be who I was. I'm just finally allowing who I am. And if that idea stirs something in you, wait until you see the next style. Because sometimes, grace lives in the space between long and short, and that's where the long bob comes in effortless, elegant, and completely ageless. Sen. The long bob, soft strength, subtle beauty, no apologies. It was a quiet September afternoon when I first met Nora. She was 66, newly retired after over 30 years, in banking, the kind of woman who had spent most of her life taking care of others, rarely stopping to consider herself. She sat in my chair with calm poise, but there was something tender in her voice when she said, I want to look a bit lighter, not younger, just less weighed down. But I'm not ready for short hair. So I offered her a middle path, the long bob, or lob. Not quite long, not quite short. Just enough length to tuck gently behind the ear, yet light enough not to pull the face downward. It's the kind of haircut that feels like a deep breath. What I've always loved about the lob is its quiet balance. It doesn't try to impress. It simply is graceful, feminine, modern, and mature. Whether straight, softly waved, or gently curled at the ends, the lob has movement, and movement is what gives it life. For Nora, we cut the length to brush the collarbone, shaped softly around her jawline, and added subtle invisible layers underneath to create lift. The ends curled ever so slightly inward, giving her face a natural frame like the last perfect brushstroke on a canvas. For women over 60, the lob is more than flattering. Its length helps soften signs of aging around the jaw and neck. On silver or white hair, it reflects light like silk. On warmer tones, golden blonde, chestnut, auburn, it adds richness and depth. And it's wonderfully adaptable. A center part adds freshness. A side part brings softness. Add a wispy fringe if you'd like to gently blur forehead lines without hiding your expression. You don't need complicated tools. On relaxed days, apply curl cream, air dry halfway, then polish the shape with a round brush. Or let it dry naturally, scrunching the ends for soft movement. It's a cut that flows with you to brunch with friends, errands in town, or simply reading in the sunlight. But as with all great cuts, the lob needs the right care, not as an obligation, but as an act of self-respect. Start with a sulfate-free shampoo to avoid stripping natural oils. Wash just 2-3 times per week. Our scalps don't produce oil like they used to, and overwashing only makes dryness worse. After washing, apply a lightweight conditioner, focusing on the bottom half. If your ends feel dry, a few drops of argan oil or a shine serum can soften without weighing down. Once a week, treat yourself to a deep conditioning mask. Formulas with keratin, shea butter, or biotin are excellent. Let it sit while you stretch, sip tea, or simply pause. Don't forget the scalp. Gently massage it using your fingertips in slow circles. A few drops of diluted rosemary or peppermint oil can boost circulation and soothe the skin. It's not just for hair growth, it's a way to reconnect with your own body. And at night, rest your hair on silk or satin pillowcases. They reduce friction, helping your lob stay smooth and intact while you sleep. The long bob doesn't try to make you look younger. It simply honors who you are, now, with elegance, ease, and the kind of quiet beauty that doesn't need to announce itself. If that sounds like you, stay with me, because next, we're not just talking haircuts, we're going deeper. Into care, into softness, into a kind of beauty that only grows richer with time. Let's continue. 4. Hair care after 60, a gentle act of self-love. There's something about hair after 60 that feels different, not just in texture, but in meaning. It's no longer about keeping up or standing out. It becomes quieter, more personal, more honest. I remember watching my mother brush her hair at the end of each day. She never said much, but there was a rhythm to it, a tenderness in the way her hands moved. As a child, I thought she was simply brushing. But now, I understand. She was remembering. She was letting go. And in a way, she was saying, I'm still here. Because after 60, hair is not just hair. It's memory. It's softness. It's a reflection of everything we've lived and everything we've chosen to keep. Of course, it changes. It becomes finer, drier, more delicate. It doesn't bounce like it used to. It doesn't hold curl the way it did. And that's okay. It's not a sign of loss, it's a quiet invitation to care for it differently. You don't need 10 products or a shelf full of miracles. You just need a few simple acts of kindness. Start with your shampoo. Avoid anything with sulfates, they strip the natural oils your hair so desperately needs at this stage. Instead, choose gentle, low-foam formulas infused with aloe vera, coconut milk, or oat protein. And don't wash daily. 2 or 3 times a week is plenty more than that, and you may be washing away what little moisture your scalp still produces. After each wash, focus your attention on the ends. They are the storytellers of your hair, the oldest part, the most fragile. Use a conditioner with shea butter, keratin, or even a light argan oil. Let it sit for a minute or two. Let it sink in. Let it soften what's been hardened by time or heat. If your hair feels brittle, try a deep conditioning mask once a week. Make it a ritual, not a task. Light a candle, put on music, sit still. Let your hair drink in the nourishment while you give yourself the gift of pause. Now, let's talk about the scalp so often overlooked. After 60, the scalp can become dry and tight, which slows circulation and affects growth. Once or twice a week, take your fingertips and massage your scalp in slow, circular motions. You can use a diluted rosemary or peppermint oil blend to enhance the experience, both known to stimulate the follicles and calm the mind. You'd be surprised how grounding that 5-minute massage can be. It's not just about hair. It's about remembering you still deserve to feel cared for. Styling after 60 should never feel like battle. Let your hair air dry as much as possible. If you must blow dry, wait until it's 70% dry, then use the cool air setting to finish. Avoid tight brushes and high heat. Your hair isn't trying to impress anymore, it's asking to be honored. And here's a simple tip that makes a world of difference. Switch your cotton pillowcase for silk or satin. Friction from rough fibers causes breakage, frizz, and morning tangles. With silk, your hair glides as you sleep. You wake up with softness, with fewer knots, with a little more grace. Of course, no amount of surface care will matter without what's happening inside. Hair, like skin, like mood, is fed from within. Add a little more protein to your plate. Include omega-3s, biotin, iron, and dark leafy greens. Drink water. Rest. Breathe. This isn't about reversing time. It's about walking alongside it with intention. And that's the beauty of caring for your hair after 60. It's not vanity. It's presence. It's saying, I still matter, I still deserve softness, I still choose to show up for myself. So whether you're working with a pixie, a lob, or soft cascading layers, remember this. The most beautiful hair is the kind that feels like you. And if that quiet glow is beginning to return, just wait until you see what we're exploring next. Because beauty after 60, it's only just begun. You see, a haircut doesn't just change how you look, it changes how you feel. Not to become someone else, but to return to yourself. A little lighter, a little brighter, a little more confident. You don't have to chase youth. You only have to choose what makes you feel alive. And sometimes, that begins with the hair you see in the mirror each morning, the way it falls, the way it moves, the way it reminds you, you're still here. If today's video made you smile, even just a little, if it inspired you to try a new style, book that haircut you've been putting off, or let go of something that no longer feels like you, then I'm honored to have shared this moment with you. Tell me in the comments, which style spoke to you the most? Or simply type 1 if this video brought you comfort, clarity, or joy. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll be right here, sharing more gentle conversations about hair, beauty, confidence, and the kind of freedom that only gets better with age. Because your story is still unfolding, and it deserves to shine.